whole, women are paid a fair wage. It's just that it's hard for businesses to rationalize an expense, especially in a very competitive field, and then allow women to have time off. Allow them to come back to their same positions and be brought. That means they have to be brought up to speed to all the changes that have happened since they've been gone during the pregnancy, and then to leave early, take as much vacations as they can with the kids. The kids need to be covered under their insurance. And like, does that mean that like? And am I saying like I'm pro business and just say fuck families? No, that's not what I'm trying to say. All I'm doing is pointing out the reasons why women probably are not being paid the same wage. And that's part of the reason why. You have women sacrificing their career goals in order to have families because they want to get married. The appeal of romance is very appealing to women and men. But typically, a lot of times, men and women fall into these traditional gender roles. And is that sexism in society? No, I don't think so. I really don't. Unless the man saying, you can't work, you will stay home, you will raise my kids, you don't have a choice. Unless she's been dictated to in such a way, I don't know that is sexism in society. I would not call that sexism in society. And I think we can debunk the myth that there is some kind of an unequal wage pay gap, and it's perpetuated by the male patriarchy. Okay, what are you saying, Knock? You're saying I think the way we got to this point, there were women that used to make less from women first started entering the workforce, and it used to be that a man could support an entire household on his own. Yep. That's true. I'm not discounting that the fact that there might have been at one time society might have that might have been a difference in society. But what we're talking about now is current issues. We're talking about current events. There you go. Mousetrap gave an excellent example of the disparages of pay. Now, it's probably more than likely that women make more money than men in many circumstances. Any field, I am willing to bet that, and I'll put my reputation on the line here, and I'll admit if I'm wrong, that women can make, or on average, will make more than men in certain fields because they are women. Again, is that sexist? It could be. It could be that men are more likely to donate to a woman, or a woman is more likely to donate to a woman because she identifies with that woman. And that is that sexist? I would say so, because you're targeting someone because of their sex and saying, this person deserves a tip because she's really pretty to look at. So you're objectifying her by giving her that tip. I would say that's very, very true, Mousetrap. I can give you several examples. I'm not going to name names, but I know several female streamers. I watched a girl, one of my favorite streamers, make $1,000 in 1 minute. I don't know if I'll ever make $1,000. It would be nice. I would love $1,000, and I'd probably wet myself or jump up and down and be elated. And it doesn't mean that men haven't gotten big donations, or like here on Twitch, or in let's say, or big tips like when they've been in the service industry, like waiting or something like that. But I am willing to bet that women, because they're women, and especially if they are attractive women, will make more money than men on here. I think it's more accurate to say like somewhat like attractive women or something like that, if you want to put that on there. Women that fit a traditional look. I want to say attractive women because attraction is subjective. Women that fit a particular symmetrical look on their face or whatever. And yeah, it's true. If they were paid less, why wouldn't they hire more women? But the point is that there's not a societal. There are reasons why a lot of women are being paid less. And I will say that there can be, and there probably is, some circumstances where a women are being discriminated against and a woman is not being paid a fair wage because she is a woman. I'm not saying that doesn't exist. What I'm saying is it's very unlikely that on a societal level as a whole that is the reason why women are paid less, because she's a woman. Very highly doubtful, and in many circumstances we've given some examples of how women actually make more money than men. So that's something that's not necessarily true. and we talked about being in the competitive field and raising a family. Businesses are in the business to make money. They're not in the business to keep your family together. They're not in the business to support your family. They're there to make money, and they give you a job because they need you to pump out products for them or provide a service for their customers, their clientele, so that they can sustain a business module and be successful and viable. Now, the people that are willing to put in the hours and the work are going to get the pay. If I was an entrepreneur, I would not discriminate against a woman and pay her less if she was willing to work harder than John. Okay? If Sarah wanted to work harder than John and she wanted to put in the hours and the time, I would promote Sarah over John. If she was more competent than John, I would promote Sarah. Because that would make sense for my business. That is the only sustainable business model for a business. Nobody wants to lose money. Nobody would hire. I mean, you'd have to be really convicted to hating women on such a philosophical level that you would be willing to cause a detriment to your business simply by paying, just because you want to stiff them a few extra bucks. I just think that's so really stupid. So I don't think that's necessarily indicative of like we were discussing. May the blue ties be with you. Jedis who work in office jobs? I've never heard that joke. Okay, so now we can finally get into identity politics and why they're toxic as fuck. So this is the problem with identity politics. Right now, what this all boils down to, what these people want you to realize, what they want you to do, is buy into this identity that you fit this mold. You are a woman, therefore you're a feminist. And if you don't support feminists, you're not a real woman. You're not a real woman. I fucking hate that phrase. You're not a real something. You're not a real man. You're not a real woman. I hate that phase. The reason why identity politics are so... Okay, what is identity politics? It sounds like... What is it, Gabby? It's a specific mode of thinking that promotes people. It shoves people into these. It segregates people into groups, is what it does. Identity politics segregate people into different groups, and they say, based on this, if you're a gamer, you should care about gaming and journalism because you're a gamer. Okay, so you right there, that would be an example of identity politics. People that are members of Gamergate fall into identity politics. These people that are women might fall into this feminism identity politics. Same thing with men. Men might fall into MGTOW identity politics. Or you in our own political system, it's an excellent example of Republicans and Democrats. There's no room for the independents or the true middle guy. They laugh with Ron Paul for the time and again, and he's presented logical argument after logical argument, and nobody gave his family the time of day. Even his son, who was more conservative and ran for office just here, he was totally disregarded. And every single one of his arguments, people are like, he rated really well in the polls, and they actually won a lot of the debates. They said Rand Paul comes out on top, and yet the polling showed when people went to vote, they didn't vote for him. They voted for fucking Trump. They voted for fucking John Kasich and motherfucking, what's this, the guy that talks like this? I forgot his fucking name. I hate that guy. The guy's so stupid. I hate him more than Donald Trump. His voice is so fucking annoying. Ted Cruz and his dumb nose. Ted Cruz has a stupid face and his annoying ass voice that talks like this. It doesn't make any gosh damn sense. They voted for people like this. They're only willing to vote for Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders or whatever, as opposed to someone that exposes way more... This is getting way political, and I apologize. But Light Rose, thank you so much for the follow. The point I'm trying to make is identity politics separate people into camps. And they say, you should believe this because you espouse these beliefs. So if you're Republican or if you're conservative, you should identify with the Republican Party. You should vote Republican because you support abortion, that you support traditional marriage, you support the deregulation of business, you support a strong military. And they get you on these identities, and they build up this identity that you have. And I'm going to explain why that fucks with the critical thinking process. So there's like 3 or 4 ways it fucks with the critical thinking process. So let's get into that. Hi, Aaron. It's good to see you. Let me explain to you why identity politics are probably one of the worst things that could possibly happen to our society. When we're segregated into these little camps, self-appointed oftentimes, when we ourselves ascribe to these. I'm a nerd. I'm a nerd gamer. I'm a girl gamer. I'm a girl nerd gamer. I like Star Wars. Blah, 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 blah. I'm a male gamer. I'm a gym rat. I go into the gym. You're ascribing to identity politics. Let's talk about why that is full of vitriol, why that doesn't work towards conducive argument. Ted Cruz looks like a vampire. Okay, so what are the identity? We have just successfully covered what identity politics are. Let's talk about what they do. It encourages self-serving bias, groupthink, and confirmation bias. So what is self-serving bias can be broken down into 4 main points. That's that's attributing the success and ability / skill while claiming so. They attribute their success. The reason here, let me re-say this: self-serving bias. It attributes success or to ability or skill or effort, while claiming that failure or bad luck is due to an external source. So let's talk about that. So self-serving bias dictates that, well, I worked hard, I'm an intelligent person, and I'm really smart, and I'm really nimble on my feet, and I am really good at all this stuff. So I can that's why I'm so successful. And then as soon as something goes wrong, it's somebody else's fault. It's that person over there. That's why I'm not successful in business. That, you know why I'm not being paid an equal wage? It's because I'm a man. It's because I'm a man and I have no control over my sex, and this female matriarchy in this nursing group or nursing home wants to oppress me as a male, and they don't want to pay me more. Attributing that's how an example of self-serving bias and the attribution of your success and the externalization of your failures affects the way we think and behave. So you can see how this plays a role in how identity politics play in self-serving bias plays a role when people formulate these opinions and go out and say stupid shit like, it's sexist because of this, and this is sexist, this is sexist. You didn't like Ghostbusters? Oh, you don't like the new trailer for Ghostbusters? It has nothing to do with it being a shitty looking movie. It has everything to do with you hating on women because this is an all-female cast. You sexist pig. Okay? That is the externalization of the failure of that trailer launch and the way that movie was marketed. They attribute that failure to sexism instead of saying, oh, we just made a really shitty movie and this is a bad idea. No, they're saying, no, we didn't. It was a great idea. People are just sexist and stupid and backwards thinking. That's why people don't want to see the new Ghostbusters movie. That's example 1. Number 2, comparing yourself favorably to others. So oftentimes people in identity politics and self-serving bias, you're going to say, I'm really smart. Erin, she's not so smart. I mean, I'm really smart. I clearly know what I'm talking about. Erin, you don't know what you're talking about, so she should probably leave. Now, I'm really good at knowing what I'm talking about, but you don't, so you can't really contribute anything meaningful to this topic. That is the reason why, another reason why, and an attribute of self-serving bias that comes into effect and affects behavior and thinking. What you're talking about, and you're talking about Ghostbusters. I was Blaze. I was relating the Ghostbusters movie to it. It was an analogy. So when you walked in and you typed that comment, I was talking about it. We were talking about self-serving bias and identity politics. Why we were talking about identity politics and why they're harmful to arguments and why they're harmful to proactive discussion. And we talked about self-serving bias and how there are 4 main points in self-serving bias. And the first point was attributing one's success to one's effort or their ability or their skill or their effort, and then their failures to external sources. So they're saying, like I said, Ghostbusters, the new release of the Ghostbusters trailer, the people who released Ghostbusters are saying there are claims of people that wrote the movie. But what about Ghostbusters? I'm getting to that, dude. People are saying that it's sexist that you don't like